IM Medhavi and Nishanth from the Ingram Micro team. So they're joining me this afternoon. We're now on the penultimate day, Thursday, of what has been a really, really busy GITEX 2024. It is crazily busy, actually. I couldn't believe how much busier this has been to last year. And that is, the reason I preface it like that is because we're going to talk about the behind the scenes stuff here. So you may have seen me talking to vendors, talking to local partners, and actually those are very sort of commercial, business related conversations, talking about markets, talking about their backgrounds, what they're doing in the region. But they wouldn't have been able to talk about anything if it wasn't for this team putting together this fantastic stand, this amazing podcast room. There's a lot that goes on into actually getting to a show and then maintaining the show once we're here. So I want to give some props and I want to give some spotlight to the unsung heroes of this, who are my colleagues from the Dubai team, who've done a phenomenal job putting something together. So congratulations, first of all, to both of you and the team around you, because it's not just a one-person effort on each side. So both of you, I'll ask you to introduce yourselves so we can give the viewers / listeners an idea of what you do, what your place is within the Ingram Micro business. So, of course, naturally, we'll start ladies first.
Thank you so much, and thank you for that lovely introduction.
I'll try my best.
Being called unsung heroes is definitely delightful. So I take care of marketing. I'm the marketing manager for Gulf at Ingram Micro. And my team and I, we're the guys who put this up together. We put in a lot of hard work for the last few months. We've been at it right from inception to what's the plan going to be like, what's the imagery, what's the brand image that we want to put across this GITEX.
It takes a lot of thinking just to get that far, right?
Exactly. And we start months ahead. And what you see here, these 5 days, people probably think, yeah, it's going to be a tiring 5 days. It's been a tiring 5 months for us.
Yes, that's what people don't see.
Yes. And on these days, we're literally operating like zombies. We're trying to put a nice face forward, trying to hide the tiredness that we have within us.
Well, you're doing it very well, both of you, and the team around you. You don't look tired, which is really bizarre, isn't it? The commercial guys, the sales boys and girls, they turn up and 3 days later they look exhausted. Yet you've been doing this for 5-6 months already.
Yeah. So it's part of the job. But honestly, it's a good problem to have. It's a busy stand, and that's what we work towards. We want it to be busy. The footfall speaks volumes about how Ingram Micro has positioned itself and about how welcomed people feel at the stand.
Yes.
So I feel like it's half the battle won, and it's a good fruit, I feel.
Yes.
Fruit of 5 months of labor. It's definitely sweet.
Definitely so. So in that journey, I'm just trying to pick my words here. In that journey, we've got a number of different considerations, from an aesthetic, a practical build sense. We've got the whole marketing. What do we want to achieve? What's the message we want to put out to our customers? How do we want the experience, the flow through the stand to be? And then someone has to physically make that happen. Now, I'm looking at you, Nishanth, because this is where the techie guys kind of then start to flex their muscle to some extent. Well, actually, this is where the techie guys say, yeah, that's going to be difficult to achieve in those conversations. And then we kind of all just stomp our heels and say we want it anyway.
Yeah.
And then they have to make it a reality, right?
They make it look so easy. Like for me as a marketeer, I literally had no clue. I put across a list of demands for Nishant, and we're like, we need A, B, C, and D to happen. And we were clueless. We didn't know what to give as an input, but the output was there.
Yeah.
So he made it happen magically, and he made it look seamless. But I know the literal amount of sweat that went behind all of that planning. So he's literally our hero. And I don't know if I want to say this on record, but we've kind of unofficially given him the position of technical advisor to the marketing team.
Very good.
Yeah,
Very good.
Because he's been our go-to guy for everything tech. This GITEX.
Awesome. So let's hear from you for a second, Nishanth. Then what is your official title? Introduce yourself and let us know what you do day to day in the Ingram business.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much. So I'm take care of pre-sales. I lead the pre-sales team for our unified communications and collaboration team. So we have 7 brands. We manage 6 countries. And that's my daily job. That's my title.
Not much then.
Yeah.
Just a little.
Yeah, just a little. But then I love tech. I love implementation. I love being hands-on, and I love doing different kinds of things, trying out, experimenting different things. So when the marketing team came up and said that we would like to try out something different for the internet this year, we would like to try out something different for the podcast this year. This was a great challenge for us. It was more like a fun, right? It's not like a work, or it's not like we're putting so much of effort into it. Just tinkering and having fun with
Because
it.
you're the kind of person, and I'm sure your team around you as well, are the kind of people that you live for this kind of thing,
Yes,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, we live for this. So this is what drives us the rest of the year. Actually, we get to do these things which we cannot, right?
You play around.
Because in a day-to-day job, we have a lot of emails and BOQs and RFPs and all that. We really don't get enough time to be hands-on.
Yeah.
So this is the time when we actually get time, because during this time our managers are like, okay, you can go and you can work on this. We'll manage work somehow. So this is a great experience for us. This time we have done something different from what we have done. So every year we try to better ourselves, right?
Yes.
So we see what we have done last year. We want to do something different this year. We make it more complicated, and then we find a solution to that. And then it just somehow. And then there's this always somehow everything just comes together and it just works beautifully.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's good. That's good. And I think you sort of hit the nail on the head there. Somehow it just comes together. I think we understand what the somehow is, right?
Yeah.
A lot of sweat, a lot of effort,
Yeah.
a lot of late nights, early mornings, and that kind of thing. But so, what have been the distinct challenges, technically speaking, that you've had with setting up for Jitex 20? Excuse me, but we'll try again with that one. So, what have been the distinct challenges that you've experienced in the setup for Jitex 2024?
Okay, so there are a couple of things which were outlined to us. So one thing is that we need to have our own Wi-Fi and wired LAN network, and we need to make it a seamless experience with the best experience for all users. So when I say all users, there are our visitors who are going to log into our Wi-Fi. There is the wired LAN devices like our POC devices, and then there is the POC network itself where I log in and some of us log in to do test calls. So if you can see all our video devices. We have 5 video devices running on a live call all the time. And it's very important that we have great bandwidth and great connectivity. So this was one of the first challenges that we tried to address, because this is an important one, right?
It is an important one, isn't it? Because whenever you come to an exhibition of any sort, the Wi-Fi is a consistent problem for anybody trying to connect to it. You either have the general Wi-Fi for the show, which you may want to even bother trying to connect to, because 200,000 other people are probably trying to do the same thing, and it just can't handle capacity. Or you have your own, which is limited to bandwidth problems, distance and range in general. So it seems like a simple thing, but it's really not. When you try to deploy it, and you try to deploy it like you said there, consistently all the time. Trying to keep that up constantly is, it takes a bit of wizardry, on your side, right?
So the thing is, most of the stands, stand builders, they're very good at building stands, right? And they do this year round. It's not only Jitex. There is Beauty World and Gulf Food, and there are so many other expos happening over here. But 99.9% of these expos, they just have a well-built stand, some LED lights, TV screens, and videos playing on it.
And that's it.
Right? That's it. So they don't have to worry about all these other technicalities. But we being a tech company, we being on the forefront of tech, we need to showcase so many new solutions. Like if you've been around our stand, you've seen robots playing games, you've seen all kinds of stuff, right? So for all of this, we need to have wired internet. So stand builders, we need to advise them, right? How to pull the cables, where to mount the devices, and all these kind of things. And when we are a large company, we have so many brands, so many stalls within our stand. So there's a lot of complication there, right? We need so many cables coming in, and we need redundancy for those cables, and we need to mount devices in the right way. So so that was one of the first challenges that we addressed. Then the second one was your podcast room, Carlos.
my wonderful podcast room.
Yeah, it's great, right?
This is. I was so impressed when I walked in the first day and I saw this. So impressed that I went straight out on the internet to my 3 or 4 followers that I have to showcase what we've got here, to get the interest in people coming here. And you know what? It's been fantastic. The conversations that we've had around this table, which incidentally is a mini signature room. If anyone's picked up on that, let me look at this camera actually. A mini signature room, which for those that don't know, signature rooms are part of the Microsoft Teams rooms meeting space archetypes, which there are several. This is meant to be much bigger for more participants, but what the guys have done and girls have done here is they provided a flavor of what a signature room should be, with the setup of the practicality of a podcast space, obviously with the cameras and everything else. But to your point, we've had this demonstrating from various different vendor bars. And I think this is one thing I want to highlight.
Yeah.
Right now we have a poly bar, but we also have Logitech, we've got Jabra, I say we, I'm taking credit for this now, look at this. You have been up here every single time we have needed to rotate this. So if we've had Logitech in, we have Poly or Jabra, you've had to come up here, swap it over, make sure it's working, bring it up and actually put it up on the screen. But not just that, but now we also have this going down to the displays downstairs.
That's right.
So, we've got the live feed from what's going on in here, demonstrating downstairs. That's not straightforward, right? That it takes time for you and obviously management on that side, but the physical, technical piece that needs to play out there. And again, we're saying consistently, we all know the second you remove a piece of equipment from where it's been installed, stuff goes wrong.
Yeah.
It always goes wrong. So the fact that you're able to do that, it's just working. I'm really impressed. If I had a hat, I'd take it off to you. I literally would. I won't take anything else off because no one wants to see that. But yeah, so really impressive. But I also want to talk about when you say, the stand builders and things like that, actually, Medhavi, it's really to do with the relationships that you have with these vendors. From a marketing perspective, that takes a lot of time up as well, obviously, because they have expectations. They quite often, I'm not sure what the situation is with the funding that they invest into a space like this. They have their own booths quite often, but they also rely on us providing a really good, high quality output in terms of the expectation of how we showcase their brand, and we have to protect their brand and illustrate it in the best possible light. That's a lot of work involved there for the marketing team, right? Because there's a lot of expectations, limitations, and restrictions around how we use brands and where they can be placed and who we have to be in front of or not be in front of, so there's competitive brands potentially. But I'm glad to say downstairs, everything's quite complimentary, which is really good.
That's right. So, the preparation starts right from the time we create our sponsorship packages, because that has to be curated. We have to build the packages just to make sure we're not just giving them real estate on our booth. We have to give them some value addition. They're not just here for branding, they're not just here as a tick mark. We give them opportunities to be part of podcasts, to present their solution stuff. So we've got the speakers corner. We've got presentations happening all day long. So we try and give them a lot more for the value that they're investing as a sponsorship fund, and not just opportunities to showcase their brand standalone.
Yeah.
So that's the value add that we as Indra Micro bring to all of our sponsors. And yes, putting all of the vendors, their branding, their artworks across, being compliant with their brand guidelines, that is, of course, the most important thing that we have to follow.
Naturally.
So, and putting all of the complementing vendors together, planning the layout, who goes where, making sure everybody is equally visible, that is all what GITEX is all about for us. Just making sure everybody's happy. They all feel that their money has been well spent.
Absolutely. And they have to get that value, of course. That is a number one priority when it comes to satisfying the vendors.
Yeah.
Everything else is a very close number two, of course. There's not diminishing priorities. It's just there is the top priority, and then there's 1,000 number two priorities that have to be almost as important as the first one, right?
Yeah, I mean, there are so many things that's not visible really. It's just physically what you see on the pod is what people think has been done by marketing. But there's a lot of PR that goes behind things. There's social media, there's email communication that happens just to make sure that we have the right footfall at the stand. So the work starts months in advance just to make some noise around GITEX, just to inform people where we are, what to expect, what kind of brands they can come in and meet. There are giveaways that we give, branded giveaways to all of the visitors, just so that builds a top of mind recall after they leave the show.
Yeah.
There's a lot of post-show follow-up that happens. So we send emails to people who visited us. There's lead scanning that happens, because at the end of the day, marketing qualified leads is what they take home.
Yes.
And that's what they build on for business. So marketing has a lot of ROI to show out of this event. And it's not just the largest tech show in the world for nothing. We've to make ourselves feel present and make a loud noise about the leads that we generate about all around GITEX.
I think you've done a very good job of making ourselves feel present here. There's definitely no exception. I remember on day one walking through the entrance to Hall 1, which is just to as you're facing our stand at the reception desk, essentially. I'm not sure if it has a different name, so apologies if I've just created something that didn't exist. As you stand on that desk, it's to the left-hand side for people's reference. As you come through there, you glance to the left, and it's immediately impactful. You see Ingram Micro. It's not, glaringly in your face, but it's there. It's a very considered color scheme this year as well. I like it. A lot of white, a bit of blue in there as well, but actually it's a very clean palette. And I think that works very well with technology, because the technology needs to take the center stage.
Yeah.
The vendors' brands need to take the center stage. And we're there essentially to shepherd the people to the right places and have those conversations. So the stand design is actually the most critical aspect of this.
100%.
And then everything else falls in.
All eyes are on the stand design. People look forward to seeing what's going to be unveiled every year. Our vendors are here to assess and make sure that we've got the brand flavors right. Like you said, we usually play around with the clean palette. We use neutral colors. We don't want it to be too on your face or too unwelcoming. We feel white as a color choice is one of the safest options, and it just makes the stand feel warmer and brighter.
Yes.
So that's the idea behind it. And this year too, of course, as marketing, we're always jittery about feedback, and day one is kind of the judgment day for us, when people come in and see, and then they pass comments, good or bad. We take it in a good spirit either way. But people do have comments about how the stand's looking this year, comparisons to last year, comparisons to competitors. So it does comes down to this one day, and hence, like you said, stand design, the choosing of the stand design is one of the most important things. And we do that as a democratic process within the team. We have voting. We send out the bid to more than 30 stand contractors. We get their designs in
30
more than 30.
Wow. That's
so a lot of them bid for it. They quote their designs, they quote their prices. We sit down and finalize, and we have to be cognizant of the layout of the kind of vendor sponsorships we have. So it all comes down to what's going to look visually the best, and then putting together structurally something that is practical and reliable.
Yeah. Well, of course, it's got to keep standing for a week, right? At the very least. Day 6, it can fall apart for all we care. There's nobody there on the stand at that point.
Day 6.
Exactly. So it does us a favor at that point.
But this year we got a lot of good compliments about a stand design. A lot of people have come and told us that stand looks amazing.
Cool.
Yeah, you've done a very good job, and it's like I say, it's impactful from the moment you look at it. You sort of turn around, it's appealing, it's welcoming, which is another thing. In fact, so much so that I was here last year. Obviously, I had the privilege of being on the stand, and it felt less open, less airy, less spacious, which made it challenging when we were trying to have conversations with customers, because the noise, it's a noisy event anyway, we can hear that, but the noise that we had on the stand made it very challenging to hear the people we were speaking with, whether they were partners or consumers. So ultimately, the stand design does really lend itself to the function of that lead generation for our commercial teams. What I have noticed this year, however, even with more space, probably because more space, but even with more space, is it really? It feels like more.
It feels like more.
It really does
the
feel like more.
staircase is very wide. The meeting rooms are larger. The first floor is larger.
The first floor is larger, yes. The ground floor, technically, the space that we've paid for is the same, but we've just optimized it more.
Yeah.
That's incredible. I would have, if my house relied on it, I would have said, I'd be living on the street right now, quite honestly, because I would have 100% said it's a bigger space. I guess, again, testimony to how well you've done what you've done here. You've provided a very welcoming, open environment that customers have been in. And I will say, it's been busier than last year. Even though the space felt smaller and it felt more compact and crammed in, and you've got more space this year, it actually feels busier. Well, I wouldn't say it feels busier. It has been busier. I've been keeping a conscious eye on how busy the booth has been. And it's consistently busy from the morning through to the end of the afternoon. In fact, at the end of the afternoon, as we're closing down, we're often ushering our guests off with us.
Yes.
So that gives testimony to the fact that you've done a fantastic job here. So obviously looking forward to GITEX 2026. You know, it's going to be
Are we
2025,
skipping
sorry,
next
where are we?
year?
No, we won't skip. I'm already thinking, I think a year
Couple of
and a
years
half. God.
ahead.
Oh my goodness, it's been a long week. So maybe we can edit that part out. I don't know. Who knows?
No, we won't.
We'll keep it in, right? It had to happen at some point. I'll get it completely wrong. So 2025,
Yes.
do my maths. Do you already start to plan for next year as soon as the show is done? Or do you have a break? Are you allowed a break?
Not at all. We're allowed a little break. We can be
few
kind
hours,
to
right?
ourselves. A few hours, yes. No, but the space gets rebooked on day 5. So tomorrow is when we sign the contract for next year.
Okay, so you
We
really
cannot.
have to have a picture of what you're looking at for next year already in terms of the space you need
Yeah.
and who you hope to have on the stand
Exactly.
itself.
So these 5 days kind of tell us, were we good with the space we have? Do we need more space or do we need to cut down? Do we have the opportunity to rebook a space at another location? Usually that's not possible because everybody rebooks well in advance.
They
So
could rebook where they are,
so
if it's good.
yeah, so we feel this space has worked like magic for us. It's done its charm. It's located quite well and significantly. We're in the middle of all the action, so we don't want to lose the spot. So now is when we rebook for next year, and then we have to wind up what we've done this year as well.
Yeah.
Closing off all the commercials with the vendors, making sure their ROI is reported properly, the leads are reaching the vendors. All of that post-GITEX work happens. So it's not like we can just take a break, disappear.
You can't just take your
into
foot off the gas, can you? You've got a lot of post
we can't
analysis.
disappear into the sea. We can't go off to Maldives on a vacation.
Oh, that'd be nice.
Let's just leave
If
that.
anyone's going, can you buy me a ticket, please? I'd love that. Just out of Heathrow would be fantastic. But all joking aside, though, obviously, we do look forward to the following year from the moment we sign up. All the commercial teams gear up for it eventually, not straight away. You're already working from day one. Technically speaking, you're drawn in and part of that conversation, Nishant, as well. So from a technical perspective, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit here, right?
Sure.
You're going to love this. So I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. It's more to do with wish lists.
Yeah.
If you, technically speaking, if you could have something here that you thought, that would be so cool to have, or we really need that, what would that be? No pressure.
Interesting.
So yeah, it's a very interesting question. We've just executed this whole GITEX, and my mind is still fuzzy with after all the craziness that's been happening, because this GITEX has been the busiest in the last 3 years. So 2022 was the GITEX after COVID. So after COVID there was no GITEX. 2020 was GITEX after COVID, and year after year, it's getting more and more busier.
It's getting more recognized.
Yeah, it's getting more. So we try out different things. So in 2022, what we did is we had a meeting room on the ground floor where we had all our Microsoft Teams Room certified devices, which were interchangeable. So we had a device we had 6 screens in that room. And, we had people coming over for a half a day. It would be a poly room. The other half would be Jabra room. The next day would be a Logi room, so on and so forth. So that was interesting. Last year we had a different experience. This year we decided to go with the podcast room for Microsoft Teams rooms and the different UC experience zones down below. So we really need to think of it. So it also works on the vendor strategy. So what the vendor wants to showcase, what are the new products that the vendor is releasing in the next couple of months. So we're expecting the new 360-degree cameras from certain vendors. So how best can we showcase that? How can that be mounted? So,
of course, yeah. So you've got to really give a lot of consideration to that, haven't you? Because it's not just a case of we'll put the same thing up again and that's that. Yeah, sure. Some of the products might be the same, but of course they're releasing new products all the time. So you've got to build that into your philosophy, your design philosophy, your technical philosophy. That must take some mental wrangling at some points, right?
That's right. So how the process works is, like Medhavi said, on day 5, she already starts the work for rebooking the space, because that's really important. Because if you're late to the party, because GITEX is such a huge event, if you're late to the party, you might get your space in a very, very far away location, which will not, that's not point then participating if you're somewhere where people don't come, right? Because it's really, you've seen the videos, right? Of your own videos.
Yeah,
where
absolutely.
It's like a vast ocean, right? So so I come into the picture 6 months after her work starts, right? So she has the initial stand design set in place, And then by then we have discussions with the vendors. We see what's launched at ISC, what's launched at other expos, what are the products, what's the roadmap for the vendors. We have an understanding of what we want to showcase this year. It could be Teams phones, it could be video devices, it could be accessories, it could be new, say for example, Rally Bar Huddle with the printed covers. It can be anything, right? So what happens over the next 6 months? We have discussions with vendors. We see what's being done around the world. We see what they showcase in their webinars and seminars, and then we try to, execute it in our flavor, in our way. We try to showcase it in the best way possible in our stand.
And it's got to be done with your spin, right? It's got to be done with, like you say, with your flavor. I love that. That's a great way to put it. Because every region is different.
Yep.
Every region has its sensibilities. It has its even its own design and aesthetics language and the way that things need to be. There's the cultural differences. There's obviously the regional geographic differences. It's interesting you reference ISC, because ISC is the really recognised show within the EMEA territory. Certainly in Western Europe and Northern Europe, and it's a show that I'm very familiar with. I've been to it many times. But there must be a lot of value for you getting out to ISC. I don't think you actually get out to ISC, do you? So you kind of see the post production efforts of what people really want you to look at. But there must be, to actually get into a show like that and see what else is being done, get the opportunity to look around and poke and peel back the layers of the things that people don't put in the glossy post-production videos. Much like the edit that I needed to have just earlier, where I made the mistake with 2026. So yeah, people won't see that naturally. I think they're going to stick it in, right?
They're definitely seeing
They're
it.
definitely seeing it.
Now that you reference it,
I've got it now. I've connected it to the rest of the video. Damn. But it is that must hold some value. So at some point, hopefully you'll get your way out to IC. Check that out. I think that'd be good for you guys to do that, because it's difficult to really appreciate what is being done in the background if you don't get to see that. So it'll be an interesting one to see whether that's a possibility moving forward, because I think there's much to learn from those other events. The same that, in all honesty, they could learn from this event. And I think with GITEX Berlin, how do we feel about that? Do you reckon that's going to maybe keep IC on their toes a little bit, possibly?
Possibly.
I don't know. I mean, my humble opinion, it might take a few years to pick up, because GITEX took 44 years to have a spin-off.
Oh, is that it?
GITEX Global
44 years.
Yeah, GITEX Global was born 44 years ago.
Right.
And it's only last year that they announced another one in Berlin. They've had Morocco for a couple of years. Now there's Nigeria, Singapore. And there's Thailand as well. So the audience is splitting. So we don't know how long it takes to reach the market, how long people take to warm up to those spin-offs or those new additions. I don't think ISC is getting competition soon.
Okay, well, that's interesting. We'll have to see. Time will tell.
Yeah.
Ultimately, but that's good.
I might have spoken too soon. I hope
you haven't jinxed it.
I hope I haven't jinxed it.
No, I'm sure it'll be fine. It's good. Healthy competition is always good. We have that in our industry. The events industry is no different.
Yeah.
I've got friends that work in the stand building industry, so they're involved in that side of the world. And competition is good for everybody. It keeps you keen. It keeps you interested. It keeps you agile and creative as well. You've got to continuously adapt on these things. So it's good. I think it'd be a good thing.
But I can see that you've become quite a fan of GITEX, right? You would love to see GITEX in Berlin.
I'm interested to see GITEX in Berlin. I don't think it'll hold as much relevance to me as ISE yet, to your point, Medhavi, because it's going to take some time for that to warm up. It's going to take time for all the vendors to be present that we would need to find that value. I think for me, it's still ISE. With the local one, it's easier for me to get to as well. It's quite handy for me, actually, because at the end of the ISE week, I spend the weekend with my family who are just up the road. So actually, it's quite nice to see my sister every now and then. She may not feel the same, but at least I get something out of it. But I've actually very much fallen in love with Dubai, very much fallen in love with the people here, the culture, and GITEX is an extension of that. It's the reason I'm here, but it's not the reason that I have interest here. There's a lot actually that this offers, but GITEX is a show that it's everything, right? It's everything, which is why I think it makes what you do that much more impressive, because it's that much more complicated to really stand out when you have all of this kind of show. We've seen flying cars, we've got robots. I almost bumped into a Boston Dynamics type of robot in an aisle whilst I was walking to go see the flying cars. So yeah, where else do you get that?
Yeah.
Quite honestly, unless it's a dedicated exhibition for that type of thing.
Right.
But that's here along with, to be honest with you, I can't think of anything. Flat panel displays, Teams Room Solutions, and other vendors which we won't talk about. There are many viable options in the marketplace other than Teams Rooms, but we only talk about Teams Rooms in this space. So yeah, it's like I say, it makes what you do that much more impressive. So look, I want, on behalf of the Ingram Micro Dubai team, Ingram Micro Golf in general, Ingram Micro as a mere business and a global business, I want to say thank you on behalf of everybody for everything that you and your teams have done, because it is a phenomenal effort. It's Herculean as an effort. It takes a lot of work, takes a lot of sacrifice, personal and professional. Just not forget the personal side. There's a lot of stresses that happen.
Thank you for recognizing
Exactly.
that.
We all get that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to 2025. Not 26.
25, yes. We got that right this time.
Exactly. So thank you, Medhavi. Thank you, Nishant, for your time and your insights. And look forward to the next one.
Sure thing. Thank you so much, Carlos, for coming over and making this an even more great event for us to remember.
Oh, you're too modest.
And it's been great having you here.
Thank you. I've loved it.